This week on The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City.
Throw things in line.
I am paying off all my debts. I'm paying my way out of my partnership because I have the money to do it.
Good luck.
I'm not being accused of owing people money because I'm paying them.
Bye.
Yo, what is up, everybody? Welcome back. Today we're going to be recapping the new episode of The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, Season 6, Episode 3. Let's get right into it. Alright, you guys. I'm still laughing about this episode. I mean, it was just hilarious. This was a great episode. Let's get into it. So we got the taglines today. I will say most of them were pretty good. Definitely much better than last season's. I really enjoyed the taglines. And I also love that after 6 years, they finally updated the intro looks. And all the ladies, I gotta give it to them, they all looked amazing. Okay, so the first scene is Lisa Barlow. She's with her assistant, John Barlow, and a whole bunch of other people. They're like at this venue type of thing, and Lisa is setting up some event with some celebrities, and she name drops some of them, like Steve Carell, which, don't get me wrong, it's cool. That's pretty awesome. Like, it's interesting to see that. But, she was talking about these celebrities that she's working with, but as you can expect, in all Lisa Barlow fashion, she did it in a very arrogant, bratty type of way. You know what I mean? But aside from this important event that she is setting up, she also is organizing a lunch with the ladies to go over the aftermath that happened in last week's episode. Moving on, we see Bronwyn and Todd. Todd is growing on me a little bit. Last season, I thought he was awful, especially when we first got to know him. I will say that seeing him stand up for Bronwyn at the reunion made me see him in a bit of a different light, just a little bit. So they're having lunch. They're going over what they're doing. Bronwyn tells him that she just went to go see her dad. So in the last couple of months, her parents actually moved in with her. They both have had medical issues. Her mom had a tumor, which she did get surgery for, and she's doing much better. Unfortunately, her dad has Alzheimer's and needs all-day care. So he's been moved into memory care. It's like pretty advanced, pretty bad. Her mom is still with her, living with them. She thanks Todd for letting her mom still live there as financially supporting them, obviously. Todd is very dry. He hasn't changed. He's just like, He then asks her, how did her talk with Meredith go? So before this, Bronwyn and Meredith, they met up, and Meredith's dad also went through the same thing that Bronwyn's dad is going through right now, so they kind of connected on that. I think it was good that she talked to Meredith. So she kind of tells Todd what they talked about, and they also touch a little bit on the friend group and the problems that Bronwyn has had, mainly with Lisa. And Todd's like, why are you dealing with that? And Bronwyn says, well, I don't like it when people don't like me. It doesn't sit well with me, which is understandable. But then Todd says, lots of people don't like you. You can't control that. And she's like, what do you mean? He's like, look at your Facebook. Look at Facebook. I get what Todd is saying. He is old school. His thought process is it's much more simplistic. But you can tell that what Lisa has said about Bronwyn has truly bothered him. I would even say it's bothered him more than it's bothered Bronwyn, as it should. That's his wife. I would be concerned if he didn't care what Lisa said about her. All right, moving to the next scene, Angie goes over to her dad's house. Her dad lives in the most coziest little comfortable house. So he's making some Greek coffee. She brought him some stuff. He's 89. He does not look 89. But, I mean, Mediterranean people, they just age differently. Italian, Spanish, and Greeks, they are different. So Bronwyn and her dad, they're super, super close. We've seen them in the seasons prior. So they're having their coffee. He told her that he found an old photo album. So he goes and grabs it, and they're old photos, like photos when he was a child. And mind you, he's 89, so you can imagine how long ago that was. And as they see these pictures, he talks about what was going on at the time and when the Germans went over to Greece and burned their homes down. Lots of history. And it's very touching. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, Angie's always talking about being Greek. You know what? She should bring it up every time she can. Everyone should do that, because when you forget where you came from, you will know where the hell you're heading to. So it was very, very nice to see this scene. And then the next scene is Bronwyn at her house. Now, I cannot take Bronwyn seriously with a dress that has sunny side up eggs on it. Listen, I gotta give it to her. When people take risks like these and just wear these ridiculous things, I'm here for it. I think it takes confidence. All right, so she's with her mom. And as I said before, her mom is moving in with her. So now she is going to sell her house in California, which was Bronwyn's childhood house. Like, that's the house they grew up in. And there is still stuff in the house that the mom hasn't gone through. And she's reluctant to. It's very hard. She says there's things that she hasn't opened in like 25 years even. And it kind of hit the mom, like, am I really going to be able to throw things away when he's not here anymore, meaning her husband, Bronwyn's dad. So it's very hard. It was very heartbreaking, because right now her dad thinks that Gwen, Bronwyn's daughter, is Bronwyn, and he thinks that Bronwyn is a girl in college, which even it adds an even more hurtful layer as well, because we know those weren't Bronwyn's best years when she was in college. So they also touch a little bit on that, and Bronwyn and how she's come so far since then. And the mom says, well, you couldn't have gone here without Todd. You needed his support. Which Bronwyn didn't particularly love to hear. It kind of felt like a snide comment, but I mean, it is what it is. The mom then jokes and she's like, well, you're going to go through all this with Todd one day. I guess she was trying to joke because Bronwyn kind of laughed. I don't like those types of jokes. Don't be over here joking about someone's going to get an illness. I believe in power of the tongue, so no thank you. All right, in the next scene, Angie heads over to Heather's house. Heather's storyline this season is a home renovation. Okay. She also says that she's writing a third book. By the way, who is buying these books? That's what I want to know. Heather had a few paint colors that she's trying out because what she's going to do is that she has a room in the house that she's going to like turn into an office or something. So she had a few different paint colors that she's going to paint on the wall just to see which one looks the best. So Angie helps her with that. And as they're doing that, they are talking. Angie says that she's working on getting her Greek citizenship, which I love. But she tells Heather that she spoke with her daughter, Electra, about this. And Angie was like, what do you think Electra said? And then Heather's like, what? I don't really care. You're taking this Greek thing way too far. You're Greek. I'm not. Let me tell y'all, if my kid one day says to me, being Mexican isn't my identity, it's yours, like, I don't care about it, I would probably cry. I'm not even kidding. But I think it's also, there's more to it. Her daughter is now a teenager, and we've all heard of the typical, teenage daughter girl that has that can clash with their mothers during those years. Like, it's something that normally happens. So that might be part of what's going on as well. They also talk about Amy's party. Angie is upset that Britney threw her under the bus with Lisa. Angie says that part of her feels bad for Lisa at times, but then there's other times where Lisa is like posting AI photos and just she has this superiority complex. I don't know why Angie is saying this to Heather, because we all know Heather's probably going to go tell Lisa right away. But in this scene, Heather obviously agrees with Angie and even tells Angie that when she met with Lisa for lunch, Lisa said that her life was so much different than everybody else's and that her businesses were so much different than everybody else's as well. So, yeah. Alright, so then it is the day for Lisa's event. It's at a place called Blue Sky. It's a place where they do ski shooting. Amy is there too, which made me think, okay, so last episode we got a episode at Amy's party, and now Amy's here too. Was she trying out for the show? Were they trying her out? I'm pretty sure. Anyway, Lisa only invited Heather, Mary, Meredith, and Amy to do the shooting activity. everybody else will be at the lunch. So I guess she only invited her friends. Which I'm sure Angie, Bronwyn, and Whitney probably didn't want to do that anyway. So I don't really think they care. But then, so they do that for a while. Then it is time for lunch. And they are all there. And they head into a room. There's about 10 big posters of prints of pages of her lawsuits with big red letters across saying dismissed. So she must have gone to FedEx or Office Max. I can't imagine what the employees were thinking when they saw this is what somebody requested to be printed out. There's also some big poster pictures of her and John, I guess trying to prove that they're happy and thriving. The whole thing was ridiculously hilarious. And y'all want to know what this reminded me of? Do y'all remember season 3 of The Real Housewives of Potomac when the Grand Dame held the press conference with no press? But she did have peanuts to go over raise taxes with the girls. That's what this was giving. So they all take some time to see what these posters are, to process it. Then they sit down. And Lisa says, we are all here so that you all can get clarity on the lies. And Angie's like, what is this supposed to prove? You printed out pages of the lawsuit that we already read. And Lisa's like, clearly not. Y'all didn't spend the $25 extra to see the dismissals. And then Whitney says, what does this clarify exactly? And Lisa says, it clarifies that the lawsuits are dismissed. Bronwyn says, dismissed because you paid the debt back or because they were fake? Lisa says, dismissed because it's none of your effing business. What? Let me tell y'all, Bronwyn, Angie, and Whitney were sitting on ready. They came prepared. And Angie says, well, I have some questions. I mean, maybe if you answer these questions, it could help you. It's been alleged that you had another man's credit card in your wallet, that he paid your car, that he paid the remodeling of your house, and that you owe him $118,000. Lisa says, well, none of it is true. Lisa thinks that denying something means a case was dismissed, which it does not. She is so delusional. She could not answer a question. She's like, well, my attorney says that these are all a bunch of fanciful tales. Lisa says, well, none of it is true. And then Angie says, this all kind of was brought up because of you. I mean, you were the one digging on Bronwyn. Lisa says, no. Bronwyn's like, yeah, and you've done it to others. Lisa says, no, you dig. You're obsessed. You got busted for lying because you couldn't afford a jewelry, and you still can't. Don't talk to me ever. And Bronwyn says, you've talked about me endlessly. I mean, at Amy's house, you were calling me a whore. And Lisa says, you were trying to get away from your husband, who is a misogynistic asshole. And Bronwyn's like, no, the only misogynistic here is you, saying that I suck deep for everything that I have. And then Lisa is, she's bragging about Ben Affleck and Anna Kendrick's movie premiere. Lisa then gets up, she grabs her poster, and she was going unhinged, you guys. It was a bit concerning. She was like, have I been sued? Yes. Do I have money? Yes. Am I innocent? Yes. She kind of started like, she was starting to sound like Jen Shah. I'm innocent. At that point, I mean, talk about comparing her to Jen Shah. So then Lisa and Angie, they start to go at it. Lisa was like, well, why were you talking behind my back? What was your objective? So they start to go back and forth. Angie says, I've heard you talk about other people's businesses. And then Angie says, you're so frustrating. Lisa says, well, you're the one that's trying to be like Jen Shah. Angie's like, I'm trying to be like Jen Shah? And Lisa's like, yeah, you have the same hair girl, the same brow girl. And she says, I've been with the same brow girl forever. Are you kidding me? Lisa says, well, you're the one that compared me to Jen Shah. It was so funny because then Britney jumps in and she's like, wait a minute, is that the same brow girl? And remember last season when Angie said that Jared Osman was hitting at her brow girl? So that's what Britney wants to know. Meanwhile, as Angie and Lisa are going at it, the poor waitress is trying to get their order in. Whitney then asks, Lisa, can I ask you a question? If you're being accused of owing all this money and we are tagged on it, we read about it, and we hear about it, like, what are we supposed to think? Then here comes Meredith. Whitney, there's a lot of accusations about you out there, but it doesn't make them true. And then Whitney says, oh, so now you want to pipe in? You were silent at camping. Now you want to say something? And then Britney says, yeah, I agree. Meredith didn't really say much, as much as I thought she would to defend Lisa. So then Meredith goes off on Britney and she's like, you're lying. But even Mary jumps in there and agrees with Britney and says, no, Meredith, you did not stick up for your friend. Whitney says, Lisa, this doesn't prove anything. Then Lisa says, how are you unwinding your business? Whitney says, I'm getting out of it. It didn't work out for me. Lisa says, oh, so nobody put money into your company? There wasn't a $10,000 buy-in? Why are people talking about this on TikTok? And Whitney's like, oh, wow, so look at who's doing the digging now. How are you going to compare TikToks to lawsuits? Lisa says, you're the last one who should be talking about this. And then Whitney says, she's scared. Lisa's scared of the truth. This is all a lie. So then Lisa screams at the top of her lungs, this isn't a lie. This was dismissed. You disgusting redhead. And then Whitney's like, redneck? And then she starts to go off the rails like a crazy person. Whitney does. She gets up and she's like, I am fighting for Wild Rose as a woman in business. I didn't pile on. Your friend didn't offend you. And then Whitney throws a napkin at Lisa's face. She approached Lisa. It was starting to get a little bit physical, but Whitney walked out. And that was the end of the episode. You guys, listen, the entertainment factor on this episode was off the charts. This is reality TV. I loved it. I loved every single minute of it. Because we go back to what I said last week. The episode started out with really, really personal scenes, which that's what Housewives thrives on. Personal, vulnerable storylines. But then we get the mess towards the end, and we get the comedy. Nobody does like Salt Lake City with the comedy. But as far as Lisa, girl, you in danger. You did not answer a single question. You saying that you deny something is not the same as it being dismissed. She didn't have one straight answer. Her questions were deflections and projections, and it was a mess. It was a mess. But you guys, let me know what your thoughts were about this episode. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch y'all next time. You'll have a great one. Bye.